Dear listeners, a new day and a new story to discuss. Today, I'm going to tell you a story that interests me. Listen and write down what you think about this situation. I'm interested in your opinions. On a dreary Thursday evening, sprawled across an old, creaky couch that had seen better days, I found myself wrestling with a thought that was as uncomfortable as the couch I lay on. Wouldn't life be simpler without the complexities of love? I murmured to myself, gazing blankly at the peeling ceiling above. The room was dim, lit only by the flickering light of a solitary lamp, casting long shadows that seemed to echo my sentiments. I mean, who decided we needed someone else to complete us anyway? I continued, my voice a mix of bitterness and jest, knowing full well the walls wouldn't answer. The silence of my apartment was a stark reminder of the solitude I had come to both resent and embrace. It was during these moments of introspection that I, Hector, a pseudonym I've adopted to preserve what little privacy I have left, often pondered over the necessity of companionship. The sound of my phone buzzing abruptly pulled me from my thoughts. I glanced at the screen. Another message from a friend, probably another attempt to drag me out of my self-imposed exile. I let out a sigh, the weight of my recent past anchoring me to the couch. Just then, a knock at the door startled me. Reluctantly, I peeled myself off the couch and shuffled towards the door. "Yeah," I called out before opening it, my voice laced with a hint of annoyance. Standing before me was Alex, a close friend whose persistence I both admired and at times found exasperating. "Man, you can't keep doing this to yourself," he said, pushing past me into the dimly lit living room. His concern was genuine, but it was the last thing I wanted to deal with. Doing what exactly? Enjoying my peace, I retorted, closing the door with a soft click. I didn't wait for his reply before making my way back to the sanctuary of my couch. Alex followed, taking a seat on the armchair opposite me. "Hector, bro, talking to ceilings and sulking in the dark isn't enjoying peace. It's wallowing in misery. When was the last time you actually went out? Or talked to someone who isn't me or delivering your groceries?" I frowned, the truth in his words stinging more than I cared to admit. "I talked to people," I defended weakly, knowing full well my interactions were limited to the bare minimum required to function as a somewhat normal adult. "Yeah? And how's that working out for you? You're turning into a hermit, man. Look, I get it. Clara did a number on you, but not every woman is. Don't." I cut him off sharply, the mention of her name like a lash across my back. "Don't bring her into this." An uncomfortable silence fell between us, the tension thick. Alex sighed, leaning forward, elbows on his knees. "Hector, listen to me. You're my friend, and it kills me to see you like this. Isolating yourself, giving up on the idea of finding someone. It's not healthy, man." I shifted uncomfortably, my gaze dropping to the worn fabric of the couch. I don't see the point anymore, Alex. After everything, the lies, the betrayal. How can I trust someone again? How do I not end up right back here, talking to my ceiling about how it all went wrong?" Alex stood up, pacing the small space before stopping and facing me. "Because you're stronger than you give yourself credit for. Look, I'm not saying jump back into dating right this second, but don't close yourself off to the possibility of happiness, of finding someone who respects and loves you for who you are." His words, though meant to inspire, felt like a mountain to climb, a mountain I had neither the strength nor the desire to conquer. I wish it were possible to have a complete life without needing someone else to make it feel full, I confessed, the words barely a whisper. Alex walked back over, placing a hand on my shoulder. "I know, Hector. I know. But sometimes, the most unexpected people walk into our lives when we least anticipate it. People who light up our world in ways we can't even imagine. You can't find that if you're not open to the possibility." As he spoke, I couldn't help but wonder if such a person existed for me. Was it possible to find someone who could make me forget the pain, the betrayal? Someone who could make me believe in love again? The conversation lingered in the air long after Alex left, his words echoing in the silence of my apartment. As I lay back down, staring once more at the ceiling, I found myself caught between the comfort of solitude and the terrifying prospect of opening my heart again. The unwanted wish for a life devoid of the need for companionship battled with the innate human desire to connect, to love, and to be loved in return. And so, in the quiet of my dimly lit living room, I pondered the possibility of a future where I could embrace vulnerability once more, despite the scars of my past. A future where maybe, just maybe, I wouldn't have to wish for a life alone. But for now, those thoughts were as fleeting as the shadows cast by the flickering lamp, and I found myself drifting off to sleep, the echo of my own voice a lullaby to my weary heart. It was a mundane Tuesday afternoon, the kind that blends into the tapestry of a forgettable work week, when Clara's call came through. The office was its usual blend of monotonous keyboard clicks and low hums of conversation, a symphony of corporate life. My headset was a barrier between me and the world, a tool of my trade as a customer care representative. That's when her voice, sharp and laced with frustration, pierced through the monotony. "Your product is a joke. Are you all running a scam over there?" Clara's voice crackled through the line, her anger palpable. I straightened in my chair, the suddenness of the assault catching me off guard. "Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Hector. I apologize for any inconvenience you've experienced. Can you please explain the issue you're facing?" My voice was calm, practiced, a stark contrast to the storm brewing on the other end. "This is the third time I'm calling." "The third time," she fumed, her words a barrage. "Your revolutionary gadget broke down within a week." "A week? Do you people have any idea how much trouble this has caused me?" I listened, jotting down notes, a part of me admiring her fiery spirit despite the circumstances. "I understand your frustration, Clara. Let's see how we can resolve this. I assure you, we value your satisfaction above all." What followed was a grueling hour of troubleshooting, explanations, and assurances. Yet, as the call progressed, a strange thing happened. The storm began to subside, her voice softening, frustration giving way to exhaustion. It was in this unexpected calm that we found ourselves veering off script. "So, Hector, is this what you envisioned doing with your life? Babysitting irate customers over defective gadgets?" Her question caught me off guard, a chuckle escaping me before I could filter it. "I guess you could say it's not the dream, Clara. But then, life has a funny way of rerouting our plans, doesn't it?" I replied, the conversation taking a turn towards the personal. "Yeah, tell me about it. I had plans, you know? Big plans. And now, here I am, fighting over a gadget that was supposed to make my life easier." She sighed, the fight gone from her voice. We talked more about dreams deferred, life's unexpected twists, and the small joys found in unlikely places. It was bizarre, this connection forming over a service call, yet it felt remarkably genuine. The call eventually ended, but the conversation lingered in my mind long after. I found myself looking forward to her promised follow-up call, curious about the woman behind the voice that had disrupted my day in the most unexpected way. Weeks passed, and our interactions continued, evolving with each call. What started as a customer service nightmare had blossomed into something resembling friendship. Clara's calls became the highlight of my days, her laughter a welcome respite from the drudgery of my job. It was during one of these calls that Clara surprised me. "Hector, how about we continue this conversation over coffee? I feel like I owe you a latte for all the trouble I've given you." The proposal was unexpected, a leap from the digital to the real world. My heart raced at the thought, a mix of anticipation and anxiety. "I think I'd like that, Clara. I'd like that very much." We met at a quaint coffee shop, a neutral ground far removed from the corporate battlefield. Seeing Clara in person was a revelation. She was as vibrant as her voice suggested, her eyes sparkling with the same fire that had first drawn me in. Our conversation flowed as easily as it had over the phone, hours passing in what felt like moments. As the evening drew to a close, Clara reached across the table, her hand lightly touching mine. "Thank you, Hector, for listening, for understanding. I didn't just find a solution to my problem today. I think I found a friend." Her words echoed my own thoughts, a sentiment I never expected to find in the script of my daily routine. As we parted ways, a sense of excitement bubbled within me, a feeling of anticipation for what this new, unlikely beginning might bring. The night was cool, the stars above a testament to the vast possibilities that lay in the unknown. Walking home, I replayed our conversation, Clara's laughter, her fiery spirit, and the unexpected connection we had forged. It was a beginning, born from frustration and complaints, but blossoming into something that hinted at the potential for more. A beginning that challenged my beliefs about fate, about the paths we walk, and the people who join us along the way. And so, as I lay in bed that night, the memory of our meeting playing over in my mind, I couldn't help but feel that, perhaps, life had more surprises in store for me than I had dared to imagine. Months had woven themselves into the fabric of a seemingly idyllic life, the rhythm of our days together becoming a melody I had grown to cherish. Clara and I, now beyond the initial thrill of new love, had settled into the comfortable cadence of shared existence. Yet, beneath the harmony, a discordant note lingered, waiting for its moment to disrupt the symphony we had created. It was late October, the air crisp with the scent of falling leaves, when the first signs of trouble whispered through our lives. Clara had been increasingly preoccupied, her phone a constant companion that seemed to demand more attention than I could ever muster. "Business is booming," she would say with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes, her explanations wrapped in the veneer of success. One evening, as we sat across from each other at dinner, her phone buzzed incessantly, the vibrations echoing like distant thunder portending a storm. "Aren't you going to get that?" I asked, the question laced with an edge I hadn't intended. "It's nothing, just work," she replied, her voice a mixture of irritation and weariness. "Always work," I muttered under my breath, the seeds of doubt taking root in the soil of my discontent. The following week, the name Scott began to surface with alarming regularity. "Scott and I need to travel for a project," Clara announced one morning, her tone casual, as if discussing the weather rather than a trip that would take her away from our home, from me. "Who's Scott?" I asked, my curiosity tinged with an unease I couldn't quite shake. "A colleague," she answered too quickly, her eyes darting away. "We've been paired for this big deal. It's a great opportunity for us." Us. The word hung between us, a chasm that seemed to widen with each passing day. Scott's presence in our conversations grew, a specter that cast a shadow over our relationship. Clara's assurances did nothing to dispel the growing storm within me, her words empty promises that failed to reach my heart. The day she left for her trip with Scott, I felt a part of me leave with her. The apartment, once a sanctuary filled with laughter and love, now seemed cold, the silence a constant reminder of her absence. I busied myself with work, a futile attempt to drown out the whispers of doubt that had become my constant companions. It was during one of these long, lonely evenings that I decided to surprise Clara. A gesture, I thought, that might bridge the distance between us. I booked a flight, envisioning a romantic reunion that would reignite the spark we had lost. The surprise, however, was mine to bear. Arriving at the hotel where Clara and Scott were staying, I was greeted not by the warm embrace of my love, but by the cold reality of betrayal. There, in the lobby, stood Clara and Scott, their intimacy undeniable, laughter shared in a private joke that cut through me like a knife. I confronted them, my heart racing, the world tilting beneath my feet. "Clara." My voice was a stranger to me, raw with emotion. She turned, her smile fading as she saw me, the color draining from her face. "Hector, what? How did you find us?" The question hung in the air, a testament to the deception that had unfolded. The ensuing conversation was a blur of accusations and denials, Clara's words a desperate attempt to weave a narrative that could somehow justify the scene before me. Scott, the ever-present shadow, remained silent, a bystander in the unraveling of our love story. "I trusted you," I said, the words a mere whisper, a lament for the trust we had built and she had shattered. Clara reached out, her hand a plea for understanding. "Hector, please, let me explain." But there was no explanation that could mend the fracture, no words that could unsee the truth of their betrayal. The realization that the person I loved, the person I had built a life with, could so easily deceive me was a wound no apology could heal. The ride back to the airport was a journey through the stages of grief, each mile a step towards acceptance of a truth I had been too blind to see. The homecoming was bittersweet, the apartment a mausoleum of memories that now taunted me with their falsehood. In the days that followed, Clara's attempts to reconcile were met with a heart hardened by betrayal. Our conversations, once filled with dreams and laughter, were now battlegrounds where words were weapons and apologies were shields that offered little protection. The deception had unfolded, leaving in its wake the wreckage of a love that had promised so much. I was left to navigate the ruins, to find a way to rebuild myself from the ashes of a relationship that had burned too bright and too fast. The journey ahead was uncertain, a path I would walk alone, but one that I hoped would lead me back to a place of peace and, perhaps, to a love that was true. The night had fallen with a heaviness that matched the turmoil within me. Clara's betrayal, a wound still fresh, bled into every corner of my existence, coloring my world with the shades of mistrust and pain. It was during one of these long, sleepless nights that the unexpected happened, thrusting me into a reality far removed from the heartache I was nursing. A sharp knock shattered the silence of my apartment, echoing like a warning through the empty rooms. With a weary sigh, I dragged myself from the couch, the remnants of my solitude clinging to me like a second skin. The peephole revealed two figures, their silhouettes ominous against the dimly lit hallway. Opening the door, I was met with the stern faces of two police officers, their badges glinting in the artificial light. "Hector Sanchez," the taller of the two inquired, his tone leaving no room for doubt. Yes, that's me, I replied, my mind racing with possibilities. How can I help you? We need you to come with us for questioning, he stated, his voice devoid of emotion. Questioning? About what? Confusion laced my words, a growing sense of unease taking root. It's about Scott Richardson and Clara Morgan, the other officer chimed in, his gaze piercing. The mention of their names was a jolt, a connection I hadn't anticipated. What about them? I demanded, a defensive edge creeping into my voice. We'll discuss that at the station. Please, come with us. The drive to the station was a blur, my thoughts a chaotic whirlwind of scenarios. What could they possibly want with me? My connection to Scott was tangential at best, defined only through Clara's betrayal. Yet, here I was, being pulled deeper into a narrative I had no part in writing. Upon arrival, I was ushered into a stark interrogation room, the sterile environment a far cry from the warmth of my apartment. The cold metal chair felt like a throne of judgment as I took my seat, the fluorescent lights overhead casting harsh shadows that mirrored the darkness of my thoughts. A female officer entered, her demeanor a mix of professionalism and empathy. Mr. Sanchez, I'm Detective Martinez. I understand this is a difficult time, but I need your cooperation. I don't understand why I'm here, I said, my frustration growing. What does this have to do with me? It's about Scott Richardson. He's been attacked, she revealed, her eyes watching me closely for any reaction. Attacked? The word echoed in the room, a harbinger of complexities I had not anticipated. Yes, and your name came up during our investigation. We need to know your whereabouts for the past few days. I've been at home, dealing with personal issues, I replied, the vagueness of my answer a testament to the turmoil Clara's actions had caused. Can anyone verify that? She pressed, her pen poised above the notepad. No, I was alone, I admitted, the weight of my isolation never more palpable than in that moment. The questions continued, each one a thread pulling at the fabric of my reality. Detective Martinez inquired about my relationship with Clara, about any interactions with Scott, and about any possible motives I might have for harming him. The absurdity of the situation was overwhelming, a surreal turn of events that seemed more fiction than fact. I didn't even know Scott outside of what Clara told me. I found myself defending, my voice laced with a desperation I despised. Why would I hurt him? We're just trying to piece everything together, Mr. Sanchez. Your cooperation is crucial, Martinez insisted, her tone softening. As the interrogation dragged on, the initial shock gave way to a simmering anger. I was a victim of Clara's deceit, yet here I was, being treated as a suspect in a crime I had no part in. The irony was not lost on me, a cruel twist of fate that added insult to injury. Look, detective, I understand you have a job to do, but you're barking up the wrong tree. I'm just trying to pick up the pieces of my life after Clara's betrayal. I don't know anything about Scott's attack, I stated, my resolve firm. Martinez studied me for a moment, her expression unreadable. I believe you, Mr. Sanchez. But we had to ask. You're free to go. The walk out of the police station was a release, the cool night air a balm to my frayed nerves. Yet, the relief was short-lived, the reality of my situation settling in like a dense fog. Clara's actions had ensnared me in a web of suspicion and intrigue, the consequences of her deception far-reaching. As I made my way home, the empty streets a reflection of my solitude, I couldn't help but wonder about the twisted paths our lives had taken. The interrogation had been a stark reminder of the collateral damage caused by lies and betrayal, a damage that extended beyond broken hearts to broken trust. The night was still young, but for me, it was just another chapter in the saga of my unraveling life, a narrative punctuated by questions without answers and a search for truth in a sea of deception. The aftermath of the interrogation was a cold, relentless downpour, drenching me in a reality I was ill-prepared to face. Each step back to the solitude of my apartment was a testament to the unraveling of a life I had once known. The night's revelations, casting long shadows across my thoughts, were companions in the darkness, whispering truths I wished to unhear. Upon my return, the silence of the apartment was a stark contrast to the cacophony of emotions raging within me. The walls, once witnesses to the laughter and love Clara and I shared, now stood as silent judges, echoing back the emptiness of betrayal. I sank onto the couch, the fabric cold against my skin, a physical reminder of the void Clara's actions had created. My mind replayed the interrogation, each question a knife twisting deeper into the wound left by her deceit. The very idea that I could be implicated in an act of violence against Scott, a man I barely knew, was a testament to the chaos Clara had woven around us. The phone rang, slicing through the silence with a shrill tone. I stared at it, a sense of dread coiling in my stomach. When Clara's name flashed across the screen, a mixture of anger and desperation seized me. I answered, my voice a cocktail of emotions. Hector, please, we need to talk. Clara's voice came through, tinged with urgency and fear. What is there left to say, Clara? I spat out, my words laced with bitterness. You've made your choices quite clear. Hector, I know I've made mistakes, terrible ones, but you have to believe me. What happened with Scott? It's not what it seems, she pleaded, her voice cracking under the weight of unshed tears. Mistakes? Clara, you call betraying our love, lying to me, and now dragging me into a criminal investigation mistakes. My voice rose, a crescendo of pain and disbelief. I'm sorry, Hector, more than you can ever imagine. But right now, I need you to listen to me. It's important, she insisted, desperation seeping through her words. The conversation that followed was a tortuous journey through Clara's explanations and justifications. She spoke of pressures at work, of being manipulated by Scott, of losing herself in a world she never wanted. Each word was a nail in the coffin of our relationship, sealing the lid on any hope of reconciliation. As the night wore on, a plan began to form, a desperate attempt to clear my name and extricate myself from the web of lies and accusations. Clara provided me with information, names, places, and events that painted a picture of Scott's dealings, a mosaic of greed and deceit. I spent the ensuing days gathering evidence, following leads Clara had provided. The city, once familiar, now felt like a labyrinth, each turn revealing darker corners of Scott's life. I met with people whose lives had been touched and tainted by his actions, each story a piece of the puzzle I was desperately trying to solve. The fallout from Clara's betrayal was not just a personal heartbreak, but had morphed into a quest for truth amidst the lies. The streets I walked, the faces I met, were chapters in a story I never wished to be part of. Yet, here I was, a reluctant protagonist, fighting against the tide of Clara's deception and Scott's shadow. Each night, as I returned to my apartment, the weight of my journey bore down on me, a relentless reminder of the cost of trust broken. The evidence I collected was a testament to the fallout of Clara's actions, pieces of a shattered reality I was determined to piece back together. The confrontation with Clara, when it came, was a catharsis, a release of pent-up anger and hurt. We stood amidst the ruins of our relationship, two strangers bound by the ghosts of what we once had. Clara, I don't know if I'll ever understand why you did what you did. The lies, the betrayal, it's destroyed everything, I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil within. Hector, I know I can't undo the past, but I'm truly sorry for the pain I've caused you, she replied, her eyes seeking forgiveness in mine. The conversation was a closing chapter, an acknowledgement of the irreparable damage wrought by deceit. As Clara walked away, a part of me grieved for the love we lost, for the innocence tarnished by the harsh realities of betrayal. The fallout from Clara's deception was a journey through darkness, a test of resilience in the face of adversity. Yet, as I stood in the aftermath, amidst the debris of a life once shared, I found a strength I never knew I possessed, a determination to rebuild from the ashes of despair. The path ahead was uncertain, a road marked by the scars of the past. But it was a road I was ready to walk, armed with the truth and a resolve to find peace in the ruins of a love that once was. The dawn of realization came not with the gentle hues of sunrise, but with the stark, unyielding light of truth. The fallout had left its scars, a landscape marred by betrayal and deceit. Yet, amidst the ruins, a determination took root, a resolve to reclaim the narrative of my life from the chaos Clara had sown. The process of moving on was akin to navigating a labyrinth, each turn revealing memories and emotions I had to confront and accept. The apartment, once a shared sanctuary, now felt too large, the silence too loud. Deciding to leave was the first step, a physical manifestation of my desire to start anew. Packing up was a journey through the past, each item a chapter, each photograph a story. The laughter and love we shared were ghosts in the corners, fading as I boxed up the remnants of a life that could no longer be. Finding a new place was an adventure, the city offering up its secrets as I searched. The neighborhoods I explored were diverse, each with its own rhythm and pulse. The place I chose was different, a space that felt like a blank canvas, ready for new memories to be painted on its walls. Starting over was not just about a change of scenery, it was about redefining who I was in the aftermath of Clara's betrayal. I dove into work with a newfound fervor, the challenges a welcome distraction. The monotony that once defined my days was replaced by a sense of purpose, each task a stepping stone towards rebuilding my sense of self. Yet, moving on was not a journey I walked alone. Friends, Once shadows in the periphery of my life with Clara stepped forward, their support a lifeline in the storm. Alex, ever the steadfast presence, was a constant source of encouragement. Our conversations, once filled with the mundane details of life, now delved into the depths of healing and forgiveness. "Man, you're doing great," Alex would say, clapping me on the back. "This new place, the job." Clara's chapter is closed. It's time for the Hector saga to continue. And continue it did. The city, with its endless possibilities, became my playground. I rediscovered hobbies long forgotten, the joy of creation and exploration filling the void left by Clara's departure. Photography, once a shared passion, became my solo venture, the lens capturing moments of beauty amidst the chaos of the urban landscape. Dating, however, was a battlefield I approached with caution. The scars of betrayal were still fresh, a reminder of the cost of vulnerability. Yet, life, in its infinite wisdom, had a way of surprising me. It was during a photography exhibition, my work displayed for the world to see, that I met Maya. Her laughter was a melody, her curiosity about the stories behind my photographs a balm to my weary heart. "Your pictures, they speak of resilience, of finding beauty in the broken," Maya said, her gaze locked with mine. "Is that what you were trying to capture?" "In a way, yes," I replied, the words flowing more freely than I expected. "It's about moving on, about seeing the world with new eyes." Our conversation flowed like a river, meandering through topics and thoughts with ease. Maya was a breath of fresh air, her perspective a mirror reflecting back the growth I had fought so hard to achieve. Moving on from Clara was not about erasing the past, but about embracing the future. The pain and heartache, while part of my story, were no longer the chapters that defined me. Instead, they were the catalyst for change, the lessons learned in the harsh classroom of life. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the narrative of my life took on a new shape. The edges of the wounds Clara left began to heal, not disappearing but transforming into marks of survival. Maya became a constant, her presence a reminder that life could offer up second chances, that love could bloom in the aftermath of a storm. Moving on was not a destination but a journey, a path marked by resilience and the courage to face the unknown. Clara's shadow still lingered, a part of the story I could never fully erase. Yet, it was no longer the anchor dragging me down but a reminder of how far I had come. The finality of moving on was an illusion, for life was an endless series of beginnings and endings. The true victory was in the ability to keep moving forward, to embrace each new chapter with an open heart and a spirit unbroken. My story, once defined by betrayal, was now a testament to the power of healing and hope, a narrative of my own making, moving ever onward towards the horizon of new possibilities.